This is me. This is my beloved wife, Sylvia. This is Sylvia's idea of sailing. This is my dream of sailing and my hope of circumnavigating the globe as a retirement project in 2029. This is Sylvia's reaction to that idea.
What? He's got a plan.
I am on a 6-year quest to convince Sylvia that a circumnavigation is a wonderful adventure, but the clock is ticking, so join me as I search for the perfect yacht that Sylvia will love, and get all your ladies to subscribe and cheer Sylvia on in the comments. Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. This week, we are back in South Africa and heading to the yards of Nexus Yachts, home of this week's guest yacht, the Balance 526. Today we will, 1. Review its specifications, pricing, and layout against 3 similar new vessels. 2. Do a full tour asking, what would Sylvia say? 3. Naval gaze at an innovation and or an adjustment that might make life aboard just a little easier. 4. Have a look at the used market for 3 to 5-year-old comparables. And 5. Give it a Dave score and compare the results with all our previously reviewed yachts. As always, all this fun will be sandwiched between a pairing of wine and a work of art from the same region as the guest yacht in an effort to capture the culture and people who gave birth to these wonderful vessels. Waves, wine, art, and ideas. What a civilized way to spend 30 minutes. So let's get going. From high above Vancouver, we head east across North America, the Atlantic, and down the European and African west coast, arriving at the yards of Knysna Yacht Company and last week's future yacht, the beautiful 550. Staying in South Africa, we hop east again towards the yards of Nexus Yachts, who craft this week's yacht, the Balance 526. Finally, we hop east again to the vineyards of
Boekenhoutskloof
off Swartland and our wine pairing. Boekenhoutskloof
at Boekenhoutskloof.
The Chocolate Block 2019. Boekenhoutskloof, and if I have to try and pronounce that one more time, was established in 1776, located in the furthest corner of the beautiful Oh, Lord, South Africa, can we make these pronounceable and less than like 5 syllables? Franschhoek Valley. The farm's name means ravine of the Boekenhout, pronounced Boekenhout. Boekenhout is an indigenous Cape Beach tree greatly prized for furniture making. In 1993, the farm and homestead was bought and restored, and a new vineyard planting program was established that now includes Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cab Franc, Grenache, Semillon, and Voyeur. As a producer, Boekenhoutskloof is a Syrah specialist, with its premium Boekenhoutskloof range selling out on release each vintage. And the Chocolate Block, a Syrah-based blend, is probably the most successful new wine offering to come out of South Africa in the modern era. The Wolf Trap brand of blend Rhone-style wines was inspired by the pioneering spirit of the early settlers who built what is now a monument to their adventurous spirit. The Porcupine Ridge range of delicious everyday wines is a firm favorite on tables throughout the world, offering great value and superb drinking. The 2019 vintage was preceded by a very dry growing season, ensuring an in-record low harvest. The 2019 vintage was preceded by a very dry growing season, ensuing in a record low harvest yield. The crush was down 2% from 2018 tonnages. The optimistic retrospect of these conditions resulted in smaller, more concentrated berries due to their higher pulp-to-juice ratio. These circumstances, along with green harvesting due to uneven bud break, were encouraging for the making of wines with great complexity.
Oh, you are really going to like that one. Let's go have a look at that boat. Cheers.
Having a look at the Balance 526, you'll forgive me if I gush a little on this one. It's one of my favorite yachts in the world, and this was my first opportunity to get on board. Balance as a brand is absolutely fantastic. Their bulletproof construction and their quality are second to none, and the Balance 526 is the premier example of that in a pure epoxy, e-glass, and carbon fiber reinforced format. I mean, the lines of this are absolutely gorgeous, and what's interesting is even in their smaller vessels, they manage to keep the dimensions looking really good. They don't get stumpy like some of the other manufacturers do, but the 526 is absolutely beautiful from absolutely every angle. You got to look at those reverse bows, the fantastic forward deck area for lots of entertainment. The clean cabin top and bimini top with lots of real glass ventilated solar. I mean, this thing is absolutely fantastic. She's got great performance numbers, and she's comfortable, and she's not too light. I mean, it's just a perfect all-around vessel. Okay, looking at the numbers, today we are going to be looking at the Rapido 53XS, the Balance 526, the Neil 52, and the Outremer 52. And when you look at the profiles here, you can see really the Balance is probably the most attractive of the bunch, although certainly that Outremer 52 does give it a run for its money. Looking at the upwind sail numbers, it's the Rapido 53XS out in front at 190 square meters, followed by the Outremer 52 at 155, and then the Balance very close there at 149, and the Neil at 127. Hopping onto the cabin tops, you can see that there's really nothing going on any of these save for the Neil 52, which has managed to retain their fly lounge and their sun pad on the roof, which you know, I really am partial to. I really do like it. Balance doesn't show it here, has a lot of solar up there, and of course they've got their bulkhead mid-helm with the roof that slides over it, and then the Versa helm that drops down. Outremer 52, very similar, the Versa helm and the slide over cover. And then Rapido, they don't need any of that because they have the center-mounted aft helm with a beautiful hard bimini and windshield over top of it. Looking at base pricing here, it's the Neil out at the most economical at about $900,000, followed by the Outremer 52 at about $1,090,000 or 1.1. Followed by then the Balance 526 at about 1.3 and the Rapido at 1.4. That's in euros. Okay, heading now down into the saloon. This is a real mixed bag here. You've got quite a selection. The Rapido 53XS is very much like the Neil 52. Actually, it was sort of looking to compete directly with the Neil 47. So you do have your upstairs bunk for the owner, although not a lot of room around it, but I mean, you're talking about a boat that'll do 25 knots. The Neil 52, very, very spacious. Love their new layout. They've taken the master ensuite down into the starboard ama and really loosened up some space up top, moved the galley over to the starboard side forward, and really created a sense of space and reasonable minimalistic elegance within the saloon there. The Outremer 52 and the Balance 526, they're very different creatures. The Outremer 52, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's more a modernistic but very, very elegant execution in the saloon. I think it actually gives a little bit better sense of openness and space in the way it's executed than the Balance 526, but the Balance 526, again, beautifully executed, everything super high quality. The actual feeling of the finishes in the 526 would be even higher than in the Outremer 52. They use a real wood veneer on foam cores. And it certainly, when you open the doors, they feel very light, and it shocks you a little bit because we're used to associating weight with quality. But here it's the exact opposite. Quality is indicated by lightness. But they are using beautiful real wood veneers throughout this, and it really does create an environment that is comfortable and warm and practical. Even the fared fiberglass does not slap you in the face like it would on the Sea Winds, because they put a matte finish on it, which really somehow punctuates quality in your perception when you're looking around it. Okay, hopping now down into the cabins. We don't go anywhere on the 53XS. The cabins are in the central hull and on the main deck there, fore, aft, and then center. And again, I mean, much larger, certainly than the 50 or probably even than the 60, although I've never been on board, with the way they've spread the saloon out towards the amas on this. But you're still going to feel a little cramped in those cabin areas. The Balance 526, my favorite layout of any catamaran, period. This is the oyster layout of catamarans, in my humble opinion. Again, my opinion is on monohulls, anything below 65 feet, there's only one layout, and that's oysters. Full beam aft, a beautiful large forward bow cabin with full access, 3 sides to the berth, and then a side single cabin with bunks. On the Balance, again, in a catamaran, there is only one layout, and that's what you're looking at here. You've got the owner's hull with a forward athwartship, which also then gives you the opportunity for a full walk-in closet up into the peak, and then a fabulous bathroom at the aft there with lots of space and storage in between. On the passenger side, you have another lovely 3-sided athwartship berth, and then you've got the more traditional butt scoot bed in the aft, but you can use it as storage if you want to. I mean, I've seen some, though, the only alternate to this, similar to, you know, the Moody 66 to an oyster layout. The twist on this one would be, and the catamarans would be an athwartship aft, similar to the Seacat 56, and then the rest of it laid out there. So the Windaloo aft athwartship, they're really kind of skirting the edge of being able to call it a 3-side access, but the Seacat 56 definitely achieved it. Onto the Neil 52, they've really done an amazing scenario here. This is an adventure platform par excellence. You've got a central cabin there in the main hull, way down low, so in rough seas, the owner can retreat to that one and probably be the most comfortable bunk in the bed. You've got on the starboard ama the master head, and then forward that through the shower stall into a laundry room, a full laundry room, absolutely fabulous. Across the saloon then into the portside ama, you have wonderful options there. You can do an aft bunk with a full dry head, and then through the shower there into a forward utility room that you can do whatever you want with, or in this scenario where you've got a wet head and 2 main cabins. The Outremer 52, you know, very typical. I think this is the weakness of Outremer. They have only butt scoot beds in the aft, similar to HH. And then in the forward port, you've got a nice little passenger cabin there that can be turned into a fabulous smart room of many, many different configurations. But, you know, of all of these layouts, I would say the Balance 526 is the most practical. Okay, heading into the numbers here, we've already gone across the top line. I won't dwell on that too much. All of these cats do kind of fall within the 50% on top of base for a sail away. So, you know, your most economical in sail away here is going to be the Neil at sort of 1.35, followed by the Outremer at 1.6, and then the Balance at 2.1, and the Rapido at 2.25 million USD. Looking at length overall, it's the Rapido at 53 feet. At length at the waterline, it's the Neil at 52 feet. Beam, it is the Rapido at 34, but I mean, it's a trimaran. So between the two catamarans, the Balance is at 27 and the Outremer is at 25. So a fair amount of additional space on the Balance. And they seem to manage to preserve that even on the 442 and 482. I don't know how they do it, but those boats don't feel significantly smaller than this 526. It sounds bizarre, but it's just a perception. Even when they're sitting side by side in Annapolis, it struck me that way. The draft, the Rapido has the shallowest, going to a mere 2.2 feet. So then the next one up there, let's look at between the Balance and the Outremer. The Balance is at 2.9 and the Outremer is at a minimum of 3.5. So the Balance has it there. Air draft, it's the Rapido at 87 feet, and payload capacity, I could not get the Rapido's payload capacity, but between the other three, the strongest one was the Neil at 13,200 pounds. Very, very similar between Balance and Outremer. Looking at light ship displacement, it is the Rapido at 9.35 tons. Then looking at the rest of them, it is the Balance in the lead at 12.5 tons. Followed really quite closely, given the difference in hull materials, by the Outremer at 12.8. Now, bearing in mind the Outremer is a little shorter. The Neil then is at a very respectable 13.5. Looking at upwind sail area, we've already looked at that. It's the Rapido at 190 square meters, and then the Outremer at 155, the Balance at 149, and the Neil at 127. Looking at the engines, you've got twin 57s on the Balance, making it the most powerfully outfitted in its base format. And then fuel and water, it's the Balance in both at 1,000 liters of fuel and 780 in water. The next closest would be the Neil at 700 liters of fuel and 602 liters of water. Okay, getting into the more technical details on hull construction. The nod would go here to the Rapido because it is a pure carbon fiber foam core epoxy boat. However, the next very close on its heels is the Balance 526, which in fact you can order in exactly that same format, pure carbon fiber, pure epoxy with a foam core, and Balance heat molds their foam cores to minimize, absolutely minimize and equalize the distribution of epoxy resin. So with the standard Balance 526, you have E-glass, heat-formed closed-cell foam cores with epoxy resin and carbon fiber, lots of carbon fiber reinforcements. Next would be the Outremer, which has a solid polyester laminate below the waterline, vinyl ester outer layer. Hulls and decks are polyester with Diviseal foam, and certain components are reinforced with carbon. And the Neil is a polyvinyl ester PVC foam sandwich with quadraxle glass cloth. The Balance is using lithium batteries, 800 amp hours of them, which comes in just a little below half of what the Outremer is. So I would say the Outremer still has the edge on usable battery bank capacity. Max solar capacity, I could only find it for the Balance and the Neil. The Rapido is going to be pretty small because they don't have a lot of space for solar, so that wouldn't be in the running anyways. Outremer, they typically have that big panel above the dinghy davits and then on the roof. But the Balance has 1,968 of ventilated glass, Neil, maximum capacity is 3,300 watts, but it is flexible walk-on. Heading down into the indicators for performance, first at sail area to displacement. Looking across the bow board, we have a dominant presence here with the Rapido 53XS at 43.5. Next, though, is going to be the balance at 29.7, followed very closely by the Outremer, just a point behind at 28.8, followed by the Neil at 22.7. Next up is displacement to hull length, or an indicator of heaviness. Of course, the winner here, lowest number, is the Rapido at 73.6. Next is going to be the Balance 526 at 91.1, followed just a point behind by the Outremer at 92.2, and then the Neil very close at 94.6. Now, the moment of truth, the KSP number, or the number that's indicative of these comparatively if they were all facing 10 knots of wind. And, of course, the winner here is the Rapido 53XS, which is a better than wind speed boat at 111%. Then it is the Balance at 89%. Then followed very closely by the Outremer at 87%. And the Neil at a respectable 77%. If you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, then share the channel with a couple of friends and hit the like button. It's free and really helps the channel. You can also join our crew on Patreon, where you can enjoy ad-free viewing as well as downloads of the Excel specifications and PowerPoint layout comparisons while helping the channel for a few dollars a month. You can find a link to the Naval Gazing at Camp David Patreon channel in the description below, where you can also click to receive our free ebook and information on some really cool virtual sailing training. And speaking of cool, my friends at catamaransshow.com have developed an amazing website and database of every catamaran available and scheduled to launch that allows you to do selectable, in-depth comparisons of 4 cats at a time. They are also working on an incredible virtual tour and on-the-fly configurator that provides the option of fully immersive virtual reality with the appropriate 3D goggles. This is an incredible resource for anyone considering a catamaran purchase. Have a look by clicking the link in the description below. Hopping on board, what would Sylvia say? And yes, that was a cameo from a couple of other Canadian YouTubers that were a real joy to meet at this show. But looking down the side of this vessel, I mean, I've been dying to get aboard a 526, and this boat did not disappoint. Looking at the aft area here, your sugar scoops give you plenty of space. You have those fantastic dinghy davits there that'll hoist a significant vessel as you require. And then moving up, you've got all of the flexi teak on here, a really nice aft-facing settee, and then an extraordinarily spacious saloon with built-in barbecue, areas for storing your toys up on the ceiling. The underneath of the bimini top is beautifully finished. You've got that now on the Mark II, an electric window that drops down there, giving complete openness between cockpit and saloon. And there's Kayla. She's a fabulous young lady with this organization. But again, just looking around, look at the visibility you had. This is what struck me with all of the balanced catamarans was sitting at the lower helm. I could easily and comfortably captain this vessel, especially on this one. This one had the added advantage that you were actually sitting up even higher, and you really had a sense of comfort and control. As you can see, both Kat and Kirk were on board this one. They're taking delivery of theirs next year. And if you'd like to see the interview with them, have a look some episodes back. Look at the details. That beautiful footrest there up at the helm station. And then you hop up here. And again, you have a tremendous point of view all around the boat, easily spotting all 4 hulls. And then you've got incredible line control. Phil refers to removing the spaghetti, and boy does he ever. And if you'll notice, everything is edged in a lovely carbon trim. The solid glass ventilated solar panels are executed perfectly. They don't look stuck on, they look integrated. Just quality, quality, quality. The Versa helm, of course, is up here now in its upward position, but you can easily drop it down into the cabin and you still have a full helm with all of your controls and your I was going to say avionics, your navigation gear in front of you so that you can properly captain the vessel from down there without straining your head and looking around at other pods. You also have a very nice integrated sunshade here that drops down and recesses right in there. Again, no tripping hazards if you're walking around, but look at the handholds all around the bimini. Absolutely beautiful, all the way upside the vessel. Your handholds, your safety, your quality, it's all there. And you can see the glint off that lovely glass because that is lovely solid glass windows. There'll be no grazing or replacing of plastic windows in the future here. The other thing too is because of quite an upright angle and the eyebrow over top of them, you're going to have minimal greenhouse effect in that saloon. So it really is done very nicely. Of course, the boom, nice and low, easily accessible. Now let's do some navel gazing here. For those of us who would rather preserve our marriage than prove our seamanship, the idea of a bow thruster on a cat tied together with a dockmate remote joystick is the thing that dreams are made of. But with 20 to 30 second run times and some significant maintenance and wiring concerns, successfully pushing a 50-foot cat up against the pier in a stiff wind was still problematic. So how about a bow thruster with brushless induction motors that require no maintenance and are extremely quiet? They're controlled by their own CAN bus protocol. The fully proportional base model offer a fully proportional control panel with thruster hold and lock function. These units offer 100% duty cycle, continuous operation, precise, fully proportional controls, simple wiring, no solenoids, a versatile 5 to 23 horsepower, 24 to 48 volts DC, optional full function remote, unlimited running time, no maintenance thanks to the brushless motor, highly efficient, safe, and reliable. Vetus has also combined this technology with their rim drive and the new Bow Pro bow thruster series. The outcome is a quiet, fully proportional bow thruster in different sizes with virtually unlimited running time. The only thing holding them back is the size of your battery bank. When the wind is blowing and the current is raging, the last thing you want to worry about is whether you'll trip a thermal overheat switch. If you're tired of the 20 to 30 second run times, extensive wiring, solenoids, overheat switches, and hassles with other bow thruster motors, DC Pro also has just changed everything. DC Pro is the first DC bow thruster motor to offer continuous operation, simple wiring, and fully variable control, giving you the power when you need it most. Westmar has made the DC Pro the easiest to control, most precise bow thruster motor available. The fully proportional 0 to 100% thrust variable speed motor allows you to apply just the right amount of thrust for given wind and current conditions. The speed control is also completely user adjustable and has standard built-in motor brake between direction changes. Extremely easy to wire, no solenoid or overheat switches, no directional misfires, no contact arc out, eliminates an entire circuit needed with other motors. Versatile, again, 5 to 23 horsepower, 24 to 48 volts DC, fully proportional, 0 to 100%, speed selector linear rotary switch, port starboard toggle switch, standard built-in motor brake. If I tie this tech together with a big battery bank and a yacht controller or dockmate wireless joystick remote with windless control, Sylvia can be sipping a cocktail while I casually wander the deck for the perfect vantage point to glide our yacht into its berth. Hold it in position, hop off, tie up, and look like a hero. Doesn't that sound better than stress, yelling, headsets, anxiety, and the potential of observers watching your circus? Okay, back on board. We're heading up the starboard side past those, oh, so sexy dagger boards there. And of course, you can see how clear your path is. There are no lines. There are no tripping hazards. Everything is done so beautifully. You have beautiful forward-facing princess or dolphin seats there. And when you walk forward on these machines, these balance machines, I don't know what it is that they've done with the longeron, but it gives you a sense of absolute sturdiness, absolutely tremendous, the sense of strength and quality that you have aboard every single balance that I've walked on. As we look now down the port side there, you can see those beautifully installed solar panels, how nicely integrated they are. That lovely eyebrow over the window with integrated handholds. There's also indirect lighting as a selectable option underneath that eyebrow. It looks absolutely fantastic in the evening. And again, those solar panels work so much more efficiently with a good bit of air underneath them, just taking away the heat. Especially, in a hot Caribbean environment. Looking here, you can see just how clear everything is. There's nothing to trip you up. There's nothing to create additional windage. Everything is so beautifully executed. Now, the other note is Balance is now offering as optional integrated code furlers on the very front. So that is another thing where literally you can option this out to be a push-button boat, a real short-handed vessel right from the cockpit here. And doesn't that cockpit look comfortable now that I chased Kirk out of there? So heading down now into the cockpit, or into the cockpit itself. Again, you've got lovely built-in barbecue, which I didn't show you there. We're going to scan now around the inside of this vessel. I think I mentioned earlier the quality of their woodwork. Beautiful woodwork inside these. A little too much fiberglass with the molded-in furniture for me, but as far as a balance, no pun intended, this is it. So for weight and yet warmth, I think Phil and the guys there have done just an extraordinary job. They've enough wood here to make it feel comfortable and warm and not feel like you're living inside a plastic bottle. And everything is done so beautifully, from their sinks to their drying racks to, you name it, they have executed here. And you can't really see it in the video, but when you come up to these pylons in between the windows, again, it's the finishes, the tiny little details, the way they've finished off these. They feel solid, they feel quality, they don't feel like they're plastic like you might feel if you walk into a lagoon. And you'll notice the headliner in the lagoon, in the saloon here, how nice it is, beautifully finished. Heading down now into the port hull. Again, look at this beautiful wood finish, absolutely gorgeous. Lots of sunlight coming down and into the staircase there. We're heading now forward to the guest athwartship. They share a very nice shower stall here. So again, dry head. And then into this absolutely gorgeous guest cabin, maybe too gorgeous. You'd have to chase them back home out of this, I think. Look at the space you have there. Full three-side access, lots of storage beside you, and lots of ventilation in the ceiling, in the port lights. You name it, this is a very, very comfortable place to spend some time. I really do like I know they didn't design it in, it's a function of the design, but the compound curves as the hull meets the main body of the boat there look very attractive. Now look at this access. into your forepeak here. A beautiful door, takes you right through, so if things are icky outside, you don't have to venture out to look around or straighten this out or do whatever you want to do. Store extra luggage and bags there for your guests, you name it. And of course, it's got a fabulous big hatch in its ceiling as well. But, you know, every detail here, from the indirect lighting to the cabinetry to the shelving. Each shelf, of course, has a lip on it, so nothing will fall off. And then you've got a very nice separate head here. So your guests, you know, they're not caught up with the toilet being in the shower area or having a wet head. And then back to your aft cabin here, which, of course, can be split into two singles with the board, or used as a lovely big, probably queen, I would think. And you have ventilation for days. You have 2 port lights, you have a ceiling vent, and then you have an aft hatch in the aft window there. So just amazing. Again, look at the little shelves. Just little shelves, but they all have a nice lip on them, so things aren't going to go flying all over the place. Coming back up, you can see the kind of sense of space you've got here. It's very comfortable, beautifully connected with the cockpit, huge refrigeration and freezer space. And the TV, which I'm sure you've seen in Phil's videos, articulates out so you can watch it in the saloon or you can watch it in the cockpit. You can repeat your instruments, whatever you want to do. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, down where the magic happens in the owner's cabin here, love their sole material here. Again, so many manufacturers are going with a cabin sole that looks so cheap. This really does look quality, and yet it's a high durability finish. So in here we got 1, 2, 3, I think 4 ventilation points here. You can see the one just above you there. And then moving forward again, this is what I need for Sylvia. This is what I need to convince her. Open that up. I can have this either as a forepeak locker or a walk-in closet or whatever we want to have in here. And you've even got integrated steps so you can exit out through that upper hatch if you want to directly. But you can reach every part of this boat without having to go out into yucky weather. It really is beautifully designed, and this is why I personally feel that this layout is the only layout for a catamaran. Again, you didn't see it there because they're off, but the indirect lighting is fantastic. Here is the famous aft head. Some might say, oh, it's a waste of space. I don't think it's a waste of space at all, because you shove a butt scoot bed in here, I think that's a waste of space. It's too difficult to get it on and off. This aft shower stall, yes, it's big, but it's also a fabulous place for your wet gear. So any of your foul weather gear that needs to dry off, any of your wetsuits that need to dry off, there's enough room in there that you can get the proper ventilation and airflow around it to do it perfectly. So we're coming back up into the saloon here and having another glance around. It is a thing of beauty. So now, what are we going to compare this with on the used market? First up is a 2018 Katana 53. So we're looking at a 4-year-old boat, and they're asking 1.624 million versus our sail away, which is base plus 50%, on the balance of 2.1 million. Now, between these two boats, in my opinion, there's no competition. The balance comes across as feeling so much more solid, so much more luxurious. I'm not sure, and somebody can leave it in the comments, what happened to Katana after sort of 08. Their 582 was a thing of beauty. The interior woodwork, the cabinetry, the joinery, everything was so luxurious. And they, now they have a good quality hull and all of those good things, but their exterior design isn't that attractive, and their interior design feels like a bally. I just don't get it. So needless to say, my vote would be with the balance on this. I'd find that half mil somewhere. Next up is a 2018 Outremer 51. So we're talking about, again, a 4-year-old boat. They're asking for 1.1 versus 2.1. This yeah, that's $1 million. I would really struggle with this. I don't like the butt scoot beds in the back of the Outremer. Overall, I find the storage and the nature of the use of wood and different things better on the balance. I do like the saloon and some of the other things about the 51. But you know, it's not going to be any slower than the balance. So I'd probably have to go with the Outremer on this one and save $1 million. Next up is a 2021 Seawind 1600. So that is a 1-year-old, yeah, 2-year-old boat. They're looking for 1.250 on this. It is a full vinyl ester boat. And you're going to save about 900 grand. But still, oh, if I had the 900, I'd do the balance 526. I'm sorry. I just like the layout and the much more contemporary design. I mean, the 1600 is getting really long in the tooth now. Okay, monohull heresy. What do we compare this to among the monohulls? Of course, we're adding 20% to the length to allow for the equivalent living space. So a 52 now goes up to about a 65 or a 70-foot yacht. So first up is a 2016 Oyster 625. So we are looking at a 6-year-old boat here. And they are asking $2.35 million. This is a heck of a vessel. The 625 is stunning in every way. I would struggle with this a little bit, and then I would think of the healing and the comfort and the fact that Sylvia wouldn't leave me halfway through the circumnav, and I'd buy the balance. Next up is a 2018 Halberg Rassi 64. Again, another classic, absolutely beautiful, absolutely seaworthy boat. Very comparable to the balance in its quality. They're asking 2.126 versus our 2.1 for the new balance. Again, I would have to go with the balance on this one. Next up is a 2016 X Yachts X6.5. That's a 63-foot yacht. They're asking 2.291, so 2.3. Not a question. It would be the balance. So I think the balance has a clean sweep save for 1. Okay, it's time for the Dave score. How did she do? Well, she did very well. She comes up pretty darn quick as we head down our list of yachts, and let's have a look at exactly how she turned out in each number. As we look across here, we're looking at elegance on the interior. I gave her a 7, and you know, when I think of elegance, the epitome of elegance to me is the interior of a Passport 545. So I'm a classic guy. I'm an older guy. That's just my gig. This is my score, so what can I say? I think for the amount of fared fiberglass there is on the inside of the balance, a 7 is a very strong score and a testament to the things that Phil and the team have done with that interior and their sandwich construction real wood veneer. Exterior elegance, I'm going to give it a 7. Comfort on the interior, give it a solid 8. Comfort on the exterior, give it a 6. You know, again, my ideal would be a Versa Lounge up on the ceiling. If you don't know what that is, go back on a few videos. And then forward access to a forward cockpit. That, to me, is the epitome of comfort on the exterior. Quality, giving it a solid 9. This thing, you know, you're never, ever going to go wrong buying a balance. Performance, give it an 8. Lazy Sailor, I'm going to give it a 7. That should probably be an 8 now with their integrated code furler and all that good stuff. Condo, give it an 8. Doesn't get a 9 simply because you know, the saloon is a little smaller as it is on more performance-oriented yachts, and this is a balance of performance and comfort. Geek, I'm going to give it a 7. There's not a lot to geek out on this other than the sheer quality. And value for money, I'm giving it an 8. And that is an extremely high number in a $2 million+ yacht. So overall, balance is at a 75. And looking at it, you know, the Lagoon is at a 75 for completely different reasons. In reality, I would bounce the balance up above this Lagoon 55 on this score. You know, it's in there with the HH44, the HH50, the Outremer 55, you know, very comparable to the Outremer 55 as far as, you know, quality and comfort and performance and all of those things. Outremer has a little bigger saloon there, but has the butt scoot bed. So, I mean, a solid 75 in the 526. This is and probably a 76 if I redid this maybe, but it's all quite subjective. For our Art of the Region this week, we're looking at Marc Poisson oil painting, Beautiful Beach. Marc Poisson is a South African post-war and contemporary painter who was born in 1952. For more than 40 years, Marc has established for himself a loyal following for his painterly depictions of some of Australia and South Africa's most beloved icons. Enjoying the mature period of his profession, he is quite at ease in his bold, distinctive style of painting. He consistently captures atmospheric light in scenes of typical Australian and South African subjects, which hark back to a more peaceful, leisurely era. Well, that's our waves, wine, art, and ideas for one more week. This boat I've been dying to get on for so long. I just so admire the balance, people, and what they're building here, the quality of boat, their layout, the practicality, and dare I say, the balance of performance against comfort. I think they're doing an absolute fabulous job, and hope one day Phil gets my check. Anyways, thanks again. We'll see you next week. Cheers.